Hi, I'm Jeffrey J. Lunn, and this is Getting Great Lighting for Videos. Let's concentrate on lighting people first because most of your videos will have faces in them and you want them to look good. Getting great lighting is easy. This module provides an overview on lighting people, places, and things. Lighting people is the most critical because those are the video sequences that you want to get right the first time. If you have a building or an object in your sequence and it looks bad, you can always go reshoot that easily. But getting an actor lined up again is a real hassle, so you want to get it right the first time. Have you ever wondered why some people look awful in pictures and others look great? More to the point, why does the same person look bad in one photo and good in another? Well, the answers are complicated and we don't have time for complicated, so I'm going to give you some quick tips that work. These are shots that my high school students did in the first week of class. Some are better than others, but the majority are quite acceptable. And that's because they followed the rules that I set up in the very beginning of the class about lighting. You'll learn how to make huge improvements with some easy changes to your setup using any camera. This is a cell phone photo. It's just a casual shot, but the lighting and expression make it work very well. This is a cell phone shot, my granddaughter blowing bubbles. The lighting is soft, the background is uncluttered, and the timing is good. This is a still frame from a cell phone video. The subject is lit by a north-facing window. North light is your friend, and we're going to talk about that. You know, you don't need crazy expensive equipment to get great images. This is a particularly ridiculous setup that was shown by the company that makes this lighting gear. The newscaster has about $10,000 invested in equipment. What a waste of money. This student has nothing invested in equipment to take her self-portrait with a built-in computer camera. Which lighting scheme looks more interesting? Which lighting shows more character? I think you'll agree it's the one on the left. So let's begin by learning why so many indoor images look bad. Backlighting is the biggest reason for poor indoor setups. It's very common for people to sit in front of a window while they zoom, do simple videos, shoot portraits, or make a video that is done on a cell phone. The easiest fix is to cover up the window and use a light to illuminate the face. But don't depend upon standard overhead lighting because it creates awful shadows on the face, like the result on the left. The shot on the right was done with a new design of lamp. It's an LED panel light. These are also marketed as SAD lights, S-A-D lights. That stands for Seasonal Affective Disorder, which affects people that don't get enough sunlight. These fixtures provide a nice, even, non-glare light at a low price. They're perfect for any type of video, portraiture, Zoom lighting, blogging, or selfies. Another popular product for Zoom meetings, selfies, and videos is the ring light. These make your skin look bad and cause reflections in glasses. I don't know why people are so excited about these ring lights. I think they're terrible. These are advertisements for ring lights. When we magnify the eyes of the model on the left, we can see that the shot was taken with a panel light because the reflection in her eyes is square, not circular like you would get from the ring light that they're selling. There's also a second light coming from below the camera. The shot on the right shows a ring light on a stand higher and to the left of the camera. It's a much better position for the light, but the lighting for this model is not done by the ring light. Look at the soft shadow from her nose, the facial ridge on the side of her face, which is very subtle but still shows a ridge, and the two hair lights that make her hair kind of pop. The ring light has nothing to do at all with these photos, so don't be sucked in by phony shots of models with professionally applied makeup. This is a classic studio lighting setup invented by Francesco Scavullo. He used it for Cosmopolitan magazine covers for about 35 years. Pros call it Scavullo lighting. Francesco absolutely did not use a $49 ring light to achieve this. But you don't have to spend a lot of money. You can get a similar look with two panel lights, one from above and one from below. The shot on the right is a test shot I did right after getting my panel lights. That's my nephew's daughter. No makeup, just two panel lights. You can identify the lighting by magnifying the highlights in the eyes. You'll see square highlights, one on the top and one on the bottom. Scavullo lighting removes wrinkles and makes the model look younger. Eleanor is actually 29 in this shot. No, not really. She's 4. Let's look at lighting you already have around the house. Filmmakers call these repurposed lights practicals because you can find them practically anywhere. You'll see them in the background of television shows and films, and a lot of times they're used as the principal light. A standard floor lamp works well when it's placed 1 foot above eye level and at a 45-degree angle to the subject. Depending upon the bulb, this may look yellow if you have a tungsten bulb, so you'll have to correct the color in your video shot. And this is a harsh lamp, so there are distinct shadows on his face. Using a lamp with a larger shade will produce less contrast. The least expensive lighting is window light. The window has to be north-facing to avoid direct sunlight. Note that the laptop is sitting on a sturdy music stand. If you don't have a tripod, this is a great accessory to hold up a computer or a video camera. You can see what the computer is looking at in the right-hand image. My computer is pretty old, so the camera that it comes with is not very good, but the lighting is still quite good. Sunlight entering a window can be hard or soft. Windows facing south or west let in direct sunlight, and that's what we call hard light. Windows facing north only let in soft light, and soft light is best. This same rule on soft north light also applies to selfies, zooming, and videos. The harsh shadows on the left photo, they look awful. In the right-hand photo, the model moved out of the harsh sunlight to a north-facing window. Very similar to what we'll get with a panel light. Let's review the window light subject a little deeper. Soft window light is great, but it has to be in the right position in your relation to the subject. If the window is behind your subject, you'll get a backlit result. Your subject will be too dark and without any detail. This backlighting issue can be fixed for a nice effect if you move in closer and drastically lighten the exposure. That option is available on cell phones and digital cameras. Cell phones, you have to go into the Pro mode. This display is from a Canon DSLR. Note that the exposure is moved to the +3 position. That lets in 8 times more light. If your cell phone has a manual mode, this tough lighting situation may work to your advantage. Just lighten the image until you get a similar result. It's a good way to wash out the background and get wraparound lighting for a dreamy effect. If your camera does not have a manual mode, you can buy an app. It's about $3. It's called Camera Plus, and it will open up a manual menu for your cell phone. Just make sure you get the right version of Camera Plus so it matches your cell phone. Another way to make a bright window work for you is to use it to intentionally darken your subject into a silhouette. This can be used in narration sequences where the subject isn't supposed to be recognized. It's a good dramatic way to begin a storytelling video. Now let's explore some more possibilities with window lighting. These first examples show images that were made with north-facing windows, like the setups we discussed. Soft side lighting is a foolproof path to success. The subject and the photographer here are standing next to a north-facing window, so the quality of the light is soft. The subject is a little farther away from the window than the photographer. Her face is turned slightly towards the window. You can see those big highlights in her eyes. That's from the window. This soft side lighting from north-facing windows also works well for full-length shots. It's pretty good for two people talking, interacting. Just put them next to the window. These are still shots I did for the Anne Klein Company. This was a very common setup for movies and televisions, and it's getting more common because people are shooting without studio lights now. So this is a real good example of what you can get with a large window. That window is shown in the left-hand photograph. Now that you've seen it, you'll recognize it in films, fashion catalogs, and celebrity portraits, and that's soft side lighting. This shot is done with window light, but the subject is turned away from the light, causing half of his face to be in shadow. It's a dramatic effect, and we see it often in moody scenes. This is also a window-lit portrait. Here we see shadows used to very good effect. The newborn baby is positioned in the light by having her facing the window, and the man is turned slightly, so most of the light falls on the baby. The parents are both in shadow. This makes the baby the hero of the shot. Now here we see the subject on the left turned towards the window for a more flattering effect. This is the best position for lighting for Zoom, Skype, and selfies, and videos or quick portraits. You really can't go wrong with this. Sometimes you may want the light from a north-facing window to be even softer. For that effect, use a reflector. This reflector costs $20 and it folds up. Just hold it up on the shadow side of the face and it will fill in the darkest areas of the subject. You can also use a big sheet of white cardboard as a reflector. This is an ideal setup for a scene with one or two people talking. You can't go wrong with this scene. Now the rule about soft and hard lighting also applies to outdoor photography of people. Avoid hard lighting by going into the shade. The shot on the right is taken in the shade of a building. We call that open shade because the subject is in shade, but the sky is lighting the subject, so it's open to the sky. The shot is good, but it could be improved by choosing a less busy background. The shot on the left is hard direct sunlight, and we can see that is definitely not working. Now the combination of an uncluttered background and open shade lighting always gives a good result. Well, maybe your video requires the viewer to see a different background because it supports a specific plot line. In that case, you wouldn't want to have uncluttered background. Maybe someone's chasing your subject, or they're on a bench thinking about something and then something's going on in the background. Well, that's no problem. Just try to keep the main characters in soft light if possible. You can get fancy with dramatic lighting after you master soft lighting. Now, backlighting is a real common problem outdoors, but it can be used to your advantage. This is taken around noon. It's really the worst time to shoot a photograph or a video, but I can get around that by turning the subject away from the sun so the sun is striking the subject's hair and shoulders. On the right, we see the sun being used as a hair light, while the face is lit by a reflector. This is very, very good lighting, especially if the camera is close to the subject. It works well with cameras and cell phones. It's the best trick I know to conquer a challenging, bright sunlight scene, and it's cheap. That's just a cardboard foam core reflector with a square hole that I've cut into it, and I'm sticking the camera through there, and I'm close enough to the subject to where the light is bouncing off that card and filling in the shadows. Now, I'll tell you, this is a really good way to shoot high-end stuff too. I took this advertising photo for Japan Airlines. It was done in the shade of the Tokyo airport with loud jets and trucks all around. The art director sprung the assignment on me while I was there photographing their airline repair facility. He just wanted to get some extra mileage out of me, which I did not appreciate. But anyway, if you shoot professionally, you'll have situations like this pop up frequently. It's unfair, but if you say no, you'll lose the client. You have to understand what soft light is and where to find it if you want to react well to these kinds of situations. The art director told me, "Oh, by the way, we need photos of stewardesses. We'll just get some quick shots in the employee lounge." That would have been a disaster. The lighting was bad in the lounge, the backgrounds were awful, and if I followed his directions, the photos would have been terrible. I would have been disgraced and I would have lost that client. So to solve the situation, I ran to the souvenir shop and bought the biggest umbrella they had to block out the background. I took the models outside into open shade, and I achieved the highlights in the model's eyes by holding a pocket flashlight above the camera. This example shows that high-end advertising shots use the same techniques as you can use by following the rules about soft lighting. The result was used for a Japan Airlines poster, and I got an extra $8,000 for these series of stewardess shots. Imagine that. $8,000. That was big money in 1995. So if you make money from this tip, please split it with me, because I deserve it. Now here's a photo taken for an article about Raymond Saunders. He's one of America's most famous artists. I shot this for Newsweek magazine. I was 18 years old, and it was one of my very first big assignments. The setup wasn't complicated or expensive. It's just soft side light. Mr. Saunders is on the side of his house. It's in Oakland, and he's standing in the shade. It's just a stucco wall. It takes away all the complicated background elements. There's no direct sunlight hitting him. I said, "Mr. Saunders, please stand here, put your hand on the railing, and look across the street at the brightly lit White House in the sun." Now that White House is kind of doing the job of a giant big panel light because it's soft and it's directional, and you can see the facial ridge perfectly defined on his face. Simple lighting. That's it. It took 30 seconds to get a great photo. Mission accomplished. Now let's wrap this module up by talking about camera height. When the camera is shooting down on the subject from a high angle, the subject's head looks big in relation to his body. This makes the subject look young and friendly. When the camera is at eye level, like in the middle photo, the body and the head are in proper size relationship, very natural. The eye level camera height is best for most people photographs and interviews on video. The low camera angle on the right increases the size of the body and reduces the head size. It also makes the subject's jaw more prominent. Typically, a low camera angle is used to make the subject look more powerful. In dramatic films, the villain is often shown from a low angle with harsh lighting. These three photos were taken of a 9-year-old boy only minutes apart from each other. In the high angle shot, he looks young and playful. In the middle shot, he's assuming the pose of a business person and looks older and more serious. The camera is slightly below eye level. In the last shot, the camera is lower and he's tilting his shoulders, making him look like a cocky teenager. Think about how you want to portray your subject and choose the right camera height for the effect. Soft side lighting outdoors and north lighting indoors is also good for instructional videos. You don't want the main subject of a how-to video to be in shadow. That's where those panel lights come in handy. If you use a soft light source like a panel light or a floor lamp with a big shade, and you move the camera from high to low angles or from right to left, you'll get some really good video. Soft side lighting isn't good for all scenes and all subjects. I don't want to get deep into dramatic lighting yet, but I do want to tease you a little bit with some good ideas. When we watch films, we should really be examining the lights. Where is the main light coming from? And how are they filling the shadows? In this shot, you'll see that the main light is this medical light from above, but he's got his other side of his face, the shadow side of his face, on the left side, it's filled with light. We don't see that light, but there is a soft panel light down low that's filling that side of his face. Because without that unseen fill light, the lower part of his face would be completely dark. Now, here's an outdoor situation that I encountered, and I think you can benefit from this case history. This is my nephew, Matthew Lunn. He was a Pixar artist and story supervisor for 25 years and worked on 14 award-winning films. Pixar asked me to photograph some of their top employees, and he was one of them. This is the shot the art director set up. Let's face it, the photo sucks. I mean, Matthew is squinting because the sun is too bright on his face, and both he and the giant lamp are lit by the same light source, the sun. It's boring. There's no drama to it. I was not happy with this setup, but that's what the client wanted, so I took all of the employees standing in this same spot. Now, after dark, when the shooting session was finished, I took Matthew back outside to the giant lamp and lit him with a flashlight. This is quite harsh lighting for a face, but I wanted to get some drama. You can see that I tilted the camera and made his face bright enough so it seemed natural. It seems as though the lamp is lighting his face, but when you analyze this shot, that can't be the case. The lamp is on the shadow side of his face and it's in the background. Now, this is a common lighting trick. We see it in movies all the time and never question it. You won't be able to get into Pixar to do this result with a brightly lit background and handheld flashlights, but you'll be able to get lots of locations like this and use a handheld flashlight to do this exact result. There are lots of places where there are bright lights in the background. Car lots are one example. Parking lots out front of commercial buildings have this. There's store lights in the background, kind of like the lights in the Pixar lobby, and then there's lamps up high, and it's a real good effect because the background is dark. So the subject really stands out. Just be careful to have the flashlight far enough away from the subject to avoid overexposure. I couldn't take this photograph and hold the flashlight myself. I had to have the flashlight taped to a light stand, but you can just have someone hold the flashlight. It's usually just too bright up close to the subject. Now, here are the two shots side by side. Night shots are always more dramatic because the backgrounds are dark. You can control the lighting and make your subject pop. Let's touch on good lighting for buildings. Why do some images of the same scene look better than others? Well, of course it's the lighting. In this photo of the Spanish Palace in Madrid, the shot on the left is in the shade and the one on the right is lit by harsh spotlights. I got an assignment to photograph the palace. You know, when I went there in the day, that's the one on the left. The palace, it doesn't have direct sunlight hitting the facade, so I had to return, but the building lights made the building really pop. So I did it at dusk, and it was just one shot, didn't require any lighting that I added. You want harsh light to create bold shadows for a dramatic effect with buildings. And nighttime is the right time for dramatic architecture shots. I gotta say, I did a little bit of Photoshop in this because none of the windows had lights on them. So I just painted in yellow light in that upper floor to make it look like somebody lived there. One of the most talented lighting directors in history is Vittorio Storaro. He's won so many Academy Awards. He just worked magic. If you want to see some great lighting of night scenes, watch the movie Marathon Man. That film won the Academy Award for lighting in 1976. Every film student studies that movie. Now, if Professor Mishkit has me back, I can talk about night lighting. For now, let's touch on some real basics about lighting a building. The ideal lighting for architecture is bright sunlight, hitting the building facade from a 45-degree angle. If the light is hitting the building from behind, the facade will be flat and uninteresting. That's the photo on the middle, on the bottom. Now, in this diagram, we see that the White House looks best in early morning or late afternoon when the light strikes it from a 45-degree angle. If neither of those options are possible, wait until dusk when the exterior lights go on, like in the upper images. In this image, we see the building in wonderful harsh light, and a shady area is in the foreground that's perfect for a person. This is an ideal situation for doing video of a news reporter or some other action. It would be very, very good if you're doing a close-up of that person and you are standing in the sunlight shooting through a reflector, and the subject is either backlit by the sun or standing in the shadow. That'd be a perfect lighting situation. You know, a situation like this with bright sunlight and shady places is ideal for a walking, talking interview. People strolling and holding hands, or any other kind of happy situation. Be on the lookout for locations like this. I'm talking about a hallway with pillars holding up the roof, but it's open to the sky. You can have the person walk through all that bright sunlight, hit the shadow of those pillars, and then come to rest kind of a little bit on the right-hand side so they are in open shade. I used this location for an assignment for the Mexico National Tourist Board. This woman was a popular actress at the time in Mexico. The shot you see here was the poster, but we also shot TV ads with her talking in this place, pretty much as you see it here. Her face looming up in the foreground. What else besides the lighting makes this dramatic? What can we say about the size relationship of her to the background? Her face is big and the background recedes into the distance. Combining people and environment in well-lighted situations is going to make your videos stand out. Okay, the end of this presentation is really just the beginning for you. I'm going to leave you with this amazing opening shot. Your opening shot in a dramatic video should be powerful. This shot from Road Warrior is spectacular. It isn't the soft lighting we discussed. It's a bold and harshly lit scene. But later in this film, we see when people are interacting, soft side light. But they just start the film with a bang with this image. You need to get control of the soft lighting before you can break the rules and achieve this kind of thing. So, get to work. Good luck.